Afternoon, everyone. In today's lesson, we'll be talking about the brachial plexus. To begin with, let us first define what this brachial plexus is. So the brachial plexus is simply a network of nerves formed by the anterior rami of the spinal nerve C5 to T1, which intermixes and gives rise to nerves that supply the upper limb. I know this is a cumbersome definition, but all it means is that when you're studying the brachial plexus, you are just looking at the nerves that run from cervical number 5 to thoracic number 1. So you have cervical number 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you have thoracic number 1. So now, when we are trying to understand this brachial plexus, we must understand from where it's starting from, the origin or the roots, to where it's branching from, which are the branches, of course. So with me, I have a mnemonic that will help you understand this, which is remember to always drink cold beer. So if you are a drunkard, please remember to always drink that cold beer. Now, let us look at this diagram. So under the roots, we can see there that we have the roots like C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. These are more like from the origin of where these are coming from. And of course, they are coming from, or they are being attached to the what? To the vertebral column. So if it's cervical number 6, yes, that's C5. Cervical number 7, that's C7, and things like that. So that's under the what? The root. Now you can see here that these roots are individual. They are not connected to each other. So here you have where you are trying to divide to say this is the root and the trunk is at this point where they are still what? Individual like that. Now, when we look at this thoracic number 1 down there, we can see that it just passes on top of the first rib. This is called the first rib. This rib that is here. And then from there we have trunks. We have 3 types of trunks. We have the upper, middle, and lower trunk. So on the upper trunk here, the upper trunk is formed when cervical number 5 and number 6 fuse together here at this point, which we call the apex point. And then, yeah, that is the upper trunk. And it's the only one that has got a smaller branching here, which we call as the suprascapular nerve. And then the middle trunk here is only formed by one cervical, which is cervical number 7 there, as you can see. And then finally you have the lower trunk, which is formed by fusion of 2, which is cervical number 8 and thoracic number 1, which forms the lower trunk. Then next you have division. So these trunks now will divide posteriorly and anteriorly. So each would divide posteriorly and anteriorly. So when you're talking of divisions, you talk of the anterior and the posterior. So under the anterior, they are what form the flexor compartment of the upper limb, because it's the upper limb or the muscles like the flexor muscles to perform the actions. While the posterior ones cause the extension compartment or form up the what? The extension compartment. So we can see here from this trunk, the first one, the upper trunk, that it first branches off to the anterior part and also the posterior part, which comes at this point. On the middle one, this line that comes from here and goes straight is the posterior. Then on the lower one that goes up, this is the posterior. So all you have to know is that all the 3 here are branching to 2 things, posterior and anterior. Posterior, what you have to know is that it always goes there on the middle. So you can see here from the upper trunk that the posterior has gone down there, the middle has gone down there as well, and the lower has gone up, which are the posterior part. And this upper one also branches to the anterior part, which is this part there, and then this part, and then the lower trunk also branches off to the anterior part like that. So those are the divisions. Now, when you're looking at the chords here, the chords are also formed from the divisions that divided from the upper trunk. So we can see here that this first chord, which is the lateral chord here, was formed from the posterior part of this middle trunk and the anterior part of this upper trunk. So what you talk about when you're talking of the lateral chord is that it's formed by the anterior part of the upper trunk and the posterior part of the middle trunk. When we look at the posterior chord, it's formed by three things. It's formed by this, which is the posterior part of the upper trunk, and also formed by the posterior part of the middle trunk and the posterior part of the lower trunk. Then finally we have the medial chord, which is formed by the anterior part of the lower trunk. Yes, so you can see that we also have other branchings there, which we'll talk more in detail in the other video. This video is just trying to help you understand how the brachial plexus is. Then finally we have the branches that will be branching off to different nerves that we need, like the axillary nerve, radial nerve, as we'll see. So we'll begin with the lateral chord and how it branches off to form different nerves, right? So the lateral chord branches off to three types of nerves. The first one is the musculocutaneous nerve, which is this one here. And then it also forms the lateral root of the median nerve and also the lateral pectoral nerve. Then the medial chord is what forms most of or branches off to most of the nerves. And we can remember this by using the 4 M's and 1 U. So the 4 M's mean you have the medial cutaneous of the arm and the medial cutaneous of the forearm. Then you also have, since remember that this median nerve does not only come from the lateral chord but also from the medial chord, it means this can also be the medial root of the median nerve. And then apart from that, you have the ulnar nerve, and those will be the branchings from the medial chord, as we'll discuss in the other video when we talk of the muscle, the blood supply, or the blood supply or arteries of the limb, the upper limb. Yes. You also have the posterior chord, which branches off to what we call star eye. So star eye means it first branches off to star. The first letter in star is S, which is superior subscapular nerve, and then we have T, which is thoracodorsal nerve, which is not shown here. And then we also have the axillary nerve, which is this one, the radial nerve, and also the inferior subscapular nerve. So that's on the introduction to the brachial plexus. Now, when we come back here, we have a clinical coloration which we call as palsy. Specifically, the one that affects this upper trunk is what we call the Epstein-Dunchen palsy, when there is a problem in the upper trunk here. Then in the lower trunk you also have another palsy, which we are going to talk of as well in the next video. So the next video we are going to talk of the clinical coloration and the end part of this brachial plexus. I hope you found this video helpful. Subscribe, like, and share for more. Thank you so much. This is Dariso Banda, a medical student from MULUNGUSHI University.